Hello, Gus here. I ran across this chilling story about the McDowell family's camping trip gone horribly wrong, and I knew I had to share it with you. Some places in the wild hold secrets best left undisturbed, but they didn't know that until it was too late. Enjoy. The McDowell family, David, his wife Sarah, and their two children, Emily and Jake, had been camping in North Carolina's Pisgah National Forest for years. It was their summer tradition, a chance to escape the noise of modern life and reconnect with nature. But in 2008, something changed. That summer, they chose a spot deep in the forest, far from the usual campgrounds. The nearest road was miles away, and the only signs of civilization were old, overgrown hiking trails. They set up camp by a small creek, spending the first 2 days hiking, fishing, and relaxing by the fire. Everything felt peaceful until the third night. The air was thick with the scent of pine as they sat around the fire telling stories. The kids were roasting marshmallows when a sharp, deliberate whistle echoed through the trees. It was distant at first, almost blending with the forest sounds. David frowned. "Did you hear that?" he asked Sarah. She nodded. "Probably just the wind," she said, but the tone of her voice told him she wasn't convinced. A few minutes later, the whistle came again, closer. This time, Emily and Jake noticed. "Is someone out there?" Jake asked, glancing at the dark woods. David stood, scanning the tree line with his flashlight. They had chosen this location for its seclusion. There shouldn't have been anyone else nearby. He swept the light over the trees, but nothing moved. No glowing eyes of a lurking animal, no shifting shadows of another camper. Just darkness. Trying to shake the uneasy feeling, they put out the fire and went to bed. The kids were asleep in their tent, while David and Sarah lay in their own. The night was calm at first, the wind rustling through the trees. Then, around 2 a.m., David woke up suddenly. The forest was silent. No crickets, no rustling leaves, nothing. Then he heard it, soft, deliberate footsteps crunching on the dry leaves just outside their tent. Slow, steady, circling. His heart pounded. He reached for his flashlight, but hesitated. If it was an animal, the light might scare it off. If it was something else, he wasn't sure he wanted to know. The crunching stopped. Then the tent fabric shifted. Someone or something was just inches away. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story and want to hear more true encounters like this, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps me bring you more stories just like this one. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now back to the story. A long moment passed. The footsteps retreated, moving toward the tree line. Slowly, deliberately. David gripped his flashlight, but resisted the urge to chase after whatever it was. Instead, he lay there, listening, until he was sure the sound was gone. At first light, he quietly stepped out of the tent, his pulse still hammering. The campsite looked undisturbed, but when he turned toward the trees, his stomach dropped. In the dirt circling their tents were barefoot footprints. They were large, not human. The toes were too long, the stride too wide. And they weren't alone. Surrounding the footprints were small handprints, pressed deep into the soil, as if something had been crawling alongside whatever had been walking. His skin crawled. Sarah and the kids woke up, unaware of what had happened. He decided not to scare them, but his instincts screamed at him to pack up and leave. As they gathered their things, David felt an unease he couldn't shake, like they were still being watched. He glanced up at the trees and froze. Hanging from the branches just above their campsite were dozens of crude wooden carvings, small faceless human-like figures tied with what looked like strips of animal hide. They swayed in the breeze, making a soft creaking sound. David didn't say a word. He just loaded the car, urging Sarah and the kids to hurry. They drove away in silence, the road winding through the forest, taking them farther from whatever had been watching them. David never told his family what he saw that morning, but he did tell his father, who had camped in Pisgah as a child. His father's face went pale. "You picked the wrong spot," he said quietly. "That's near the place they used to talk about. The old stories about the ones who live in the woods." David pressed for more details, but his father just shook his head. "They don't like when people stay too long." The McDowell family never went back, and David never camped in the deep woods again. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe, and be sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss any future content. Stay safe out there, and thanks for watching.